They told you your aching joints were just getting older. They said the shrinking height was nothing to worry about. But what if I told you that right now, inside your body, something is silently devouring your bones, and it all starts with what's on your plate? Three foods, so common they're probably in your kitchen right now, are gradually leaching the strength from your skeleton. And the worst part, you've been told for years that some of them are actually healthy. Osteoporosis isn't just a women's issue or something that only strikes in your 80s. No, it begins decades earlier, often with no symptoms, until a small fall shatters your hip or a sudden crack in your spine collapses your posture forever. I'm Dr. Ryo Iba. For over 30 years, I've helped people not just add years to their lives, but life to their years. My patients used to think brittle bones were an inevitable part of aging. Now they're dancing at weddings, gardening pain-free and walking tall because we caught the problem in time. And today I'm going to help you do the same. But first I need you to know, the earliest signs of bone decay aren't dramatic. In fact, you may be feeling them already and brushing them off as something else entirely. You wake up feeling a little stiffer than usual. Maybe your lower back feels tight. Maybe your knees don't bend like they used to when you squat down to pick something up. You chalk it up to sleeping wrong or not stretching enough. But what if those small signals were actually your body whispering that your bones are losing density right under your skin? Bone loss doesn't shout. It creeps in quietly. Unlike muscles, bones don't have nerves that scream in pain when they start to weaken. Instead, osteoporosis begins with tiny cracks, a little erosion here and there, slowly weakening the structure that holds you upright. Many people won't know they have it until a routine action, stepping off a curb, reaching for something on a high shelf, results in a life-changing fracture. And the most terrifying part, by that point your bones may have already lost up to 25–30% of their strength. Let me tell you about Ellen. She was 63, walked daily, and didn't smoke or drink. She considered herself healthy. One morning, she bent down to tie her shoelace and felt a strange snap in her back. Within hours, she was in the emergency room with a fractured vertebra. The culprit? Undiagnosed osteoporosis, which had been silently progressing for years. Her diet, one filled with processed foods, lots of coffee and low-fat dairy, was actually stripping her bones of strength, not helping them. If you've noticed any of these symptoms, loss of height, back pain, a stooped posture, or even brittle nails, it could be more than aging. And if you've had even one fracture after age 50, you're already in the danger zone. These aren't just warnings, they're red flags waving at full mast. Now you might be wondering, what am I eating that could possibly be causing this? Well, it's time to take a hard look at your plate, because the very first bone-destroying food might be something you reach for every single morning with your coffee or tea, and it's got a sweet little disguise. It's in your cereal, your coffee creamer, your low-fat yogurt. It hides behind names like fructose, glucose syrup, and evaporated cane juice. But no matter how innocent it sounds, this one ingredient is silently draining the calcium from your bones like a thief in the night. I'm talking about added sugar, the sweet saboteur that's weakening your skeleton with every bite. Most people associate sugar with weight gain or diabetes, but few realize its direct, devastating impact on bone health. When you consume high amounts of sugar, especially refined and processed types, your blood becomes more acidic. And guess what your body uses to neutralize that acid? Calcium, that's right. To protect your bloodstream from becoming too acidic, your body pulls calcium out of your bones, leaving them porous and fragile over time. Let's put this into perspective. The average adult today consumes over 17 teaspoons of added sugar per day. The recommended amount, no more than 6. That's nearly 3 times the safe threshold, and much of it comes from healthy foods like granola bars, fruit juices, and fat-free dressings. These foods are marketed as good for you, but their hidden sugars are setting off an internal chain reaction that ends in brittle bones. Even more alarming, studies from the National Institutes of Health have found that high sugar consumption directly lowers osteocalcin, a protein essential for bone formation. That means not only are you losing bone density, but you're also preventing your body from building it back up. Double jeopardy. One of my patients, Henry, 68, thought he was making good choices. Switched to flavored oatmeal, added protein bars to his diet, even drank sports drinks after his walks. But his bone scan told a different story: advanced osteopenia. When we cut his added sugar intake in half and rebalanced his minerals, his follow-up scan 6 months later showed measurable improvement. His doctor was shocked. I was. Sugar has a way of sneaking into our lives with comfort and convenience, But every spoonful, every bite of those chewy cookies, every sip of that flavored iced tea, it's all accelerating the breakdown of your skeletal foundation. And it's not just the sugar itself, it's what it displaces. The more sweetened products you consume, the less likely you are to eat calcium-rich greens, magnesium-packed seeds, and vitamin D-boosting fish. So what can you do? Start by scanning nutrition labels for anything ending in "ose." Watch for deceptive terms like organic cane syrup or agave nectar. They're still sugar. Cut back on store-bought sauces, packaged snacks, and flavored yogurts. And if you must indulge, pair sweets with a bone-supporting food, like raw almonds or plain Greek yogurt to buffer the impact. Now, sugar may be subtle in its sabotage, but the next food we'll discuss is far more direct. It doesn't hide. It's a bold flavor you probably crave, and it's doing even more damage to your bones than you realize. You crave it. You sprinkle it. It's in everything from your favorite chips to canned soups and even the so-called healthy frozen meals in your freezer. But that satisfying burst of flavor you get from salt may be costing you more than just your blood pressure. It may be actively pulling the calcium out of your bones, one grain at a time. Here's the biology. When you eat too much sodium, your kidneys work overtime to flush it out. But in doing so, they also excrete calcium, often more than your body can afford to lose. This means every salty snack or overseasoned meal increases your calcium loss through urine, leaving your bones more hollow with each bathroom trip. It's not just about how much calcium you're taking in, it's how much you're leaking out, and salt speeds up that leak dramatically. In fact, studies show that for every 2,300 milligrams of sodium you consume, the amount in just 1 teaspoon of salt, you can lose up to 40 milligrams of calcium in your urine. Multiply that by every meal, every day, and you begin to see how this sneaky flavor enhancer acts like a pickaxe chipping away at your bone density. Take Tom, for example. He's 70, an ex-firefighter, always stayed active, but he had a lifelong love for deli meats, canned chili, and salted nuts. No one warned him those innocent foods were packed with sodium levels well above recommended limits. When his doctor finally tested his bone density after he fractured his wrist from a minor fall, the results were startling: osteoporosis in both hips and his spine. He never saw it coming. Most people don't. And that's the danger. Sodium is everywhere, not just in your salt shaker. It's hiding in breads, cheeses, condiments, sauces, and fast food. One serving of soy sauce, over 900 milligrams. A cup of canned soup, easily over 1,000. That means you can hit your entire daily sodium limit with just one meal if you're not paying attention. So what can you do to protect your bones? Start reading labels religiously. Anything above 140 milligrams per serving is considered high sodium. Switch to low sodium or no salt added versions of your favorites. Use flavor alternatives like lemon juice, herbs, garlic, and pepper. And most importantly, hydrate well. Water helps flush excess sodium more safely without overtaxing your kidneys. There's also a class of hidden salts most people miss: phosphates. These are added to processed meats and sodas and act as preservatives, but they disrupt the delicate mineral balance your bones depend on. The more processed your food, the more phosphate and sodium it's likely carrying, double trouble for your skeleton. But salt's damage doesn't stop at calcium loss. High sodium levels also raise cortisol, the stress hormone that triggers inflammation and bone breakdown. And for postmenopausal women, whose estrogen already offers less protection to bones, this effect is even more dangerous. Now, while salt strips your bones steadily and silently, the next food strikes with a fizzle and a pop. It's cold, bubbly, and marketed as refreshing, but it's leaving your bones hollow from the inside out. It's icy cold, it tingles on your tongue, and it's sold in every vending machine, gas station, and refrigerator aisle across the country. Whether it's regular, diet, or sugar-free, this drink has become a daily ritual for millions. But that seemingly innocent can of soda is doing something far more sinister than quenching your thirst. It's corroding your bones from within. Let's get straight to it. Studies show that habitual soda drinkers have significantly lower bone mineral density, especially in the hips and spine. And women over 50 who consume cola beverages daily are at a 300% higher risk for osteoporosis-related fractures. The reason? A toxic cocktail of phosphoric acid, caffeine, and often high-fructose corn syrup, each a known enemy of strong, healthy bones. Phosphoric acid is the primary villain here. Found mostly in darker sodas like colas, This compound creates an acidic environment in your body. And just like with sugar, your system scrambles to neutralize that acid, again by leaching calcium out of your bones. But it doesn't stop there. Phosphorus and calcium compete for absorption. So when you flood your body with phosphates, you block calcium uptake too. It's a 1-2 punch. Less calcium in, more calcium out. Caffeine compounds the problem. It slightly increases calcium loss through urine. Now add in the fact that most people drink soda instead of calcium-rich beverages like milk or fortified plant milks, and you've created a perfect storm for bone erosion. Every time you reach for a cola, you're trading bone strength for fizz. And don't be fooled by zero sugar or diet labels. These may spare you the calories, but they don't spare your skeleton. In fact, some research suggests artificial sweeteners may disrupt gut health in ways that further affect calcium absorption. That means the diet soda you thought was the better option could be undermining your bones just as badly, if not worse. Let me tell you about Marsha. She was 66, healthy weight, walked every day. Her one vice? Diet Cola, 2 cans a day for nearly 20 years. She thought she was being smart, avoiding sugar and calories. But after slipping in her garden and shattering her wrist, scans revealed advanced bone thinning. "But I don't drink soda with sugar," she said. I had to explain it wasn't the sugar. It was the phosphoric acid and caffeine doing the real damage. And it's not just soda. Energy drinks, sweetened iced teas, and even some flavored waters use similar acids for tartness and preservation. Check your labels. Anything with phosphoric acid, orthophosphates, or over 40 milligrams of caffeine per serving should be treated with caution if you value your bone health. So what can you sip instead? Sparkling mineral water with no phosphoric acid is safe and may even offer trace minerals that support bones. Infused waters, herbal teas, or even warm lemon water can satisfy that flavor craving without sacrificing your skeleton. Soda doesn't seem dangerous. It's bubbly, it's fun, it's nostalgic. But beneath the fizz is a silent destroyer, one that may already be weakening the very frame that keeps you upright. And if you're thinking, well, I'm still standing, I must be fine, let me tell you this. Osteoporosis is often invisible until it's too late. One small fall, one wrong step, and everything changes. But bone loss isn't just physical. It affects how you move, how you live, even how you feel about yourself. In the next chapter, you'll see just how devastating osteoporosis can be, not just to your body, but to your entire way of life. Picture this, a confident, independent woman in her early 70s. She drives herself to the market, carries her own groceries, and keeps her grandkids laughing with her quick wit. One morning, she steps off a curb slightly wrong, barely a stumble, and her hip snaps like a twig. In an instant, her life fractures alongside the bone. That's the brutal truth about osteoporosis. It doesn't just weaken bones, it reshapes lives. Every year, over 300,000 older adults in the US are hospitalized for hip fractures. Nearly 1/3 of them never walk independently again. And here's the part no one wants to talk about. 1 in 5 will die within a year of the fracture, not from the break itself, but from the complications: pneumonia, infections, blood clots, loss of mobility, depression. You see, bone health isn't just about posture or preventing a minor fall. It's the foundation of your freedom. Once compromised, it triggers a domino effect. Lose your strength, and you lose your balance. Lose your balance, and you lose your confidence. Then come the walkers, the stairlifts, the fear of being alone in your own home. Independence slowly slips through your fingers. And yet, most people won't know they even have osteoporosis until it's already too late. Unlike heart disease, there's no chest pain. Unlike arthritis, there's no constant ache. Bones thin silently until they break. That's why osteoporosis is called the silent thief. It robs you of your vitality without ever making a sound. Let me share the story of Robert. At 75, he was still doing yard work and lifting light weights at his local gym. One snowy morning, he slipped on his front steps and fractured 2 vertebrae. The pain was excruciating, but what came after was worse. 3 months in a brace, lost muscle mass, and chronic fatigue. Within a year, the man who once climbed ladders to clean gutters needed help getting out of bed. He told me, "I didn't feel old until my bones gave out." Osteoporosis doesn't just attack the elderly either. Bone loss begins in your 30s. And if you're not actively protecting your bones now, with proper nutrition, movement, and monitoring, you're setting yourself up for a brittle, vulnerable future. It's a condition that turns strong, vibrant individuals into cautious, housebound shadows of themselves. And the cost isn't just physical, it's emotional too. Many of my patients experience anxiety, isolation, even depression after fracture. They stop traveling, stop dancing, stop gardening. Their world shrinks. All because their bones couldn't support the life they loved. But here's the hope. It doesn't have to be this way. You can rebuild bone, you can prevent fractures, and yes, even in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, you can still fight back and reclaim your strength. The key is awareness and action, because once you understand how osteoporosis can devastate lives, you begin to realize just how urgent it is to protect yours. Now let's get even more personal. You've heard the science. You've seen the stats, but sometimes it takes real stories, raw, honest, heartbreaking, to fully grasp the danger. In the next segment, I'll share stories from patients who never saw it coming until it was too late. Janet was 69 when she called me. Her voice trembled on the phone, not from pain, but from regret. Just 6 weeks earlier, she'd tripped over her small dog in the kitchen. A fall she might have laughed off in her 50s left her with a shattered pelvis and 3 months of immobility. Before the accident, she'd considered herself pretty healthy. She walked daily, avoided junk food, and took a calcium supplement now and then. But no one ever told her diet soda habit, low-sodium obsession, and love for low-fat, sugary yogurts were quietly dismantling her bone strength. "I wish someone had warned me," she said through tears. "I thought I was doing everything right." Janet isn't alone. I've had patients from all walks of life, teachers, truck drivers, retired CEOs, who all share one thing: they never imagined they'd be fragile. They believed osteoporosis happened to other people. But the data tells a crueler story. Over 54 million Americans have low bone mass, and most of them don't even know it. Let me tell you about George. He was 73 when he fell off a low garden stool, barely 18 inches high. His femur snapped. He spent 5 days in the hospital and another 6 weeks in rehab. But what stuck with me most wasn't his injury, it was his shame. "I can't believe this happened," he told me. "I used to carry drywall on my shoulder. Now I can't even walk without a cane." His diet: high-sodium canned foods, processed meats, and 2 or 3 colas a day. He hadn't had a glass of milk in years. His doctors had warned him about heart health, but no one said a word about his bones. That oversight nearly cost him his independence. Then there's Lisa. At just 62, she looked radiant, always smiling, always active. But under her vibrant energy was a bone density scan that showed advanced osteoporosis. She had no symptoms, no fractures, just a routine scan that exposed the truth. "If I hadn't gotten tested," she told me, "I wouldn't have changed anything. I would have walked right into a disaster." Her change: she cut soda cold turkey, reduced sugar, started eating leafy greens, fatty fish, and lifting light weights. 2 years later, her follow-up scan showed improvement. She said, "I didn't just save my bones, I saved my life." These stories aren't meant to scare you, they're meant to wake you up. Because it's not enough to cross your fingers and hope your bones hold out. It's not enough to rely on supplements and assume they're working. You need to make changes before the damage begins, before the pain, the brace, the rehab center, or the surgery. The tragic truth: every single one of these people would give anything to turn back the clock and make different choices. But you still can, right now. Because in the next chapter, I'm going to show you exactly how, not with fads or gimmicks, but with a blueprint backed by science, rooted in decades of patient results, and simple enough to start today. You don't need a cabinet full of pills. You don't need a fad diet or some overpriced miracle powder. What you need is a blueprint, a clear, proven roadmap to build bone strength and protect what's keeping you upright, mobile, and independent. And the truth is, most people have never seen it laid out in a way that actually makes sense. Until now. Let's start with what bones are really made of. Yes, calcium is a star player, but it's only one of 17 key nutrients your bones crave. Magnesium, vitamin D, vitamin K2, zinc, phosphorus, boron, they all play vital roles. Think of your bones like a building. Calcium is the bricks, sure, but without mortar, scaffolding, and structure, those bricks won't hold. That's why calcium supplements alone often fail. In fact, excessive calcium without the right balance can harden your arteries instead of strengthening your bones. So what does the bone-saving blueprint actually look like? It starts with real, whole foods, because your body absorbs nutrients far more efficiently from food than from tablets. Leafy greens like kale, collards, and bok choy are loaded with bioavailable calcium and magnesium. Fatty fish like sardines and salmon bring in vitamin D and omega-3s, which reduce inflammation and enhance calcium absorption. Fermented foods, think natto, kefir, and sauerkraut, deliver vitamin K2, the nutrient that tells calcium where to go in your body. Hint: your bones, not your arteries. Next, protein. For years, older adults were told to cut back on protein to protect their kidneys. but newer research shows that adequate protein is essential for bone mass, especially in seniors. Without it, you lose muscle, and with it, you lose the stability that prevents falls. Aim for high-quality sources: eggs, beans, tofu, Greek yogurt, wild-caught fish, and organic chicken. Hydration is another overlooked piece of the puzzle. Your bones are 25% water by weight. Dehydrated bones are brittle bones, so swap out sugary sodas and caffeinated drinks for filtered water, herbal teas, and mineral-rich broths. Add a pinch of unrefined sea salt to your water for electrolyte balance if needed. Yes, the right kind of salt in moderation actually supports bone function. Now let's talk movement. No amount of perfect eating will protect your bones if you live a sedentary life. Your bones are living tissue. They respond to stress. That's why astronauts lose bone mass in space. You need to move in a way that challenges your structure. Walking is good, but weight-bearing and resistance exercises are better. Think resistance bands, squats, bodyweight moves, or even light dumbbells. Just 15-20 minutes 3 times a week can increase bone density over time. And don't forget your posture. Poor posture doesn't just affect how you look. It compresses your spine, increases fracture risk, and restricts your balance. Practice standing tall, shoulders back, head aligned with spine. Incorporate balance training, simple toe stands, heel-to-toe walks, or tai-chi to reduce fall risk. Here's the final and maybe most powerful part of the blueprint: get tested. A DEXA scan is painless, fast, and can tell you exactly where you stand. Knowledge is power. Don't wait for a fracture to find out your bones are in trouble. Ask your doctor, demand the test, especially if you're over 60 or have risk factors. I've seen this blueprint work over and over again. My patients who follow it aren't just surviving, they're thriving. They're hiking, dancing, playing with their grandkids, living without fear of a fall or fracture. They made the shift, and so can you. Now that you know what to avoid and what to embrace, it's time for a little surprise. Because there's one bone-saving food you probably never thought of, and it might already be in your fridge. You've heard about milk. You've heard about leafy greens. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful bone-supporting foods isn't dairy, isn't a vegetable, and is often completely overlooked? Prunes. Yes, those humble, wrinkled fruits your grandmother may have eaten for digestion are actually a secret weapon for your bones. Multiple studies, including research from Penn State and Florida State University, have shown that eating just 5-6 prunes a day can prevent bone loss and even reverse it in some cases. The reason? Prunes are rich in polyphenols, antioxidants that reduce inflammation and stimulate osteoblasts, the cells responsible for building bone. They also contain boron, vitamin K, magnesium, and potassium, all crucial minerals for maintaining strong bones and supporting calcium metabolism. One trial found that postmenopausal women who ate prunes daily for 6 months showed a significant increase in bone density compared to those who didn't. Not bad for a snack often written off as just for constipation. So go ahead, add a few prunes to your morning oatmeal, blend them into a smoothie, or eat them plain as a mid-afternoon treat. They're not just good for your digestion, they're feeding your bones too. And now that you've got the full blueprint, you might be wondering, where do I begin? Let's wrap this up with a quick recap, one that proves it's not too late to turn things around. Let's take a breath and put the pieces together. You've just learned that bone loss doesn't start with a fracture, it starts with what's on your plate. For years, you've been unknowingly feeding the silent thief that steals your strength, mobility, and independence. But now you see it clearly. It began with sugar, the sweet saboteur hiding in your breakfast bars, cereals, and fat-free yogurts. You learned how it acidifies your blood, forcing your bones to surrender their calcium to protect you. Every bite, every sip, slowly robbing you from the inside. Then came salt, that bold, addictive flavor enhancer that's more dangerous than it appears. Not just in your shaker, but lurking in soups, sauces, and sandwiches. It doesn't just spike your blood pressure, it speeds calcium loss, accelerates bone erosion, and leaves your frame hollow. And of course, the fizzy destroyer, the soda, the diet colas, the sweet teas. They fizz, they pop, and they erode your skeleton sip by sip with phosphoric acid and caffeine. Worse still, they push out the beverages that actually nourish your bones. We expose the damage of osteoporosis, not as an abstract medical term, but as a real-life devastation: lost independence, long recoveries, emotional collapse. And you heard the stories: Janet, George, Lisa, people who never saw it coming, people who now wish they known what you know today, but it wasn't all warning signs and regret. You now hold the bone-saving blueprint, a daily game plan built from decades of science and patient success. Whole foods rich in calcium, magnesium, vitamin K2, fatty fish, fermented options, leafy greens, hydration, smart movement, strength training, better posture. And the test, yes, the DEXA scan, your roadmap to measurable progress. And then there was the twist, prunes. The quiet hero in your pantry, full of polyphenols and minerals, offering you one of the simplest, most overlooked ways to reverse bone loss naturally. So now I ask you, do you want to be the person who waits for the fall, or do you want to be the one who never has to fear it in the first place? It's not too late, not by a long shot. Your bones are alive. They're listening. And they're waiting for you to make the change that could keep you walking tall, strong, and independent for decades to come.